I suspect if you are watching this video, then like me, you are excited about the upcoming Cyberpunk 2077 game currently being made by Polish video game publisher CD Projekt Red. At the time of producing this video, scant information is available to the public on this upcoming Cyberpunk game. Personally, I found the evocative trailer shown at E3 to be rather impressive, and it indicated to me that the game shows great potential. Interest for Cyberpunk 2077 no doubt stems from CD Projekt Red's phenomenal success in adapting Andrzej Sapkowski's Witcher novels into RPGs. If you give the same developers the Cyberpunk 2020 universe and collaborate with someone passionate and fastidious as Mike Pondsmith, who, if you did not know already, designed the original Cyberpunk RPG back in 1988, hopefully you have all the ingredients necessary for another outstanding game. For those of you who may not already be Cyberpunk aficionados, it's worth attempting to clarify what Cyberpunk actually is. I should preface my discussion by pointing out that there is no single correct definition of Cyberpunk. There is always bias involved based upon one's personal experiences. That said, the genre does have certain themes that are consistent throughout the various media. Where did Cyberpunk come from, you may ask? Alongside Mike Pondsmith's RPG, I suspect most people were introduced to Cyberpunk during the 1980s, following William Gibson's influential science fiction novel, Neuromancer, and the cinematic success of Ridley Scott's Blade Runner. While such works often dominate the discourse on Cyberpunk, one cannot ignore the contributions to the genre from previous decades by authors such as Philip Dick, who wrote Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep, which was published in 1968. This book served as the inspiration for Blade Runner. My own journey into the genre of cyberpunk began during the mid-1990s when I happened to pick up a copy of Masamune Shirow's seminal work, Ghost in the Shell. The animated film was a cultural landmark and has endured the test of time. It was a neo-noir story set in a unique vision of a connected cyber world. While Major Motoko Kusanagi would go on to become one of my favourite anime characters, more importantly, Shirow's world building and narrative encouraged me to delve deeper into the world of cyberpunk. Ghost in the Shell raised pertinent questions about the human relationship with technology, which represents a key element of cyberpunk. In broad terms, cyberpunk describes a corpus of stories that are set in an urban dystopian future and explore how advanced technologies impact on society. The most common themes that arise can be demarcated into three distinct categories: post-humanism, post-nationalism, and post-industrialism. Post-humanism is effectively a state where an entity exists beyond being just human, usually through the use of technology. Alongside cyberspace, a term coined by William Gibson, there is a cornucopia of technology that can be found in cyberpunk, such as limb enhancements, brain-computer interfaces, and neurochemical manipulation. In other words, the technology's aesthetic is one of transcending the limitations of flesh. However, as Mike Pondsmith recently reiterated in an interview, it is the ubiquity of the technology that defines cyberpunk. Everyone should be able to have some form of access to the technology in a similar fashion to how almost everyone currently has a mobile phone. Subsequently, it is this widespread adoption of technology that raises poignant questions, such as if we continually upgrade ourselves to become more intelligent or physically stronger, at what point do we become more machine than human? What impact does this augmentation have on a human's mental state? Will they face an existential crisis? Furthermore, does it exacerbate current social inequalities? And with the rise of artificial intelligence, how do we even define life? Moving on to post-nationalism, this is a political ideology which embodies the process of nation-states or national identities becoming less important relative to supranational or self-organized entities, or in other words, global megacorporations take over. In Cyberpunk 2020, for example, powerful megacorporations and their private security forces are effectively dominating proceedings following the complete collapse of the American and Russian economies. These elements interact with one another within a matrix of political corruption and social upheaval which is replete with crime, violence, prostitution and drugs. In some respects, the punk element of cyberpunk represents the counterbalance to these negative forces. Subversive groups such as visionaries and misfits have a tendency to reassert their agency and become the protagonists within the cyberpunk narrative. Mike Pondsmith's version of cyberpunk places additional emphasis on values of expedience. A cyberpunk does what they need to do to survive, rather than just relying upon traditional dichotomy of good versus evil as guidance. Style over substance also plays an integral part in defining what a cyberpunk is. Attitude is also of utmost importance. So in the future, when you're choosing those dialogue options in the 2077 game, playing it safe may not always be the best option. Last but not least, we have post-industrialism. The manufacturing sector becomes less important than its service and entertainment counterparts. Human labour is increasingly redundant in a cyberpunk world containing nanomachines, cyborgs, and artificial intelligence. This replacement of human labour increases the profound chasm between the wealthy and blue-collar workers, leading to further social unrest. Another key aspect of post-industrialism is that information increasingly becomes the most valuable currency in a world whose modus operandi is reliant upon cyberspace and technology. Hence why you will find hackers or netrunners featuring prominently in most cyberpunk works. I am Kazuliski, and I hope you found this succinct introduction to cyberpunk to be informative. Constructive feedback and suggestions are always welcome. Thank you for watching.